Why do second chances come late, if ever at all? Dylan asked himself this every day. Standing alone, 26 years old and weathered by regret, his empty apartment felt smaller than ever tonight. The boy he'd been, the reckless, temperamental teenager, had hurt the people who raised him, hurt them in ways he couldn't undo. Or so he thought. That was until he found the notebook. It wasn't an ordinary notebook. It sat dusty and untouched in a second-hand shop he ducked into, trying to escape the rain. "Travel we do," scrawled in thick ink across its cover. Dylan opened its pages under dim light, finding diagrams of looping spirals, dense writing on time resonance, and cryptic instructions that made his head pound. Yet, amidst the chaos of equations and riddles, there was one phrase heralding as much hope as danger. "The bridge opens where memory burns brightest." Burn brightest? He thought of his family, the long dinners they used to share. His father's laugh, his mother's humming, his younger sister's peculiar way of twirling her hair when she concentrated. Dylan had destroyed all that in his younger years. A storm of anger and misdirected insecurities had burned every bridge. Estranged now, he hadn't even called them in years. Reading further, the notebook revealed an astounding truth. Time travel wasn't linear. It was emotional. You couldn't just pick a date or year. You had to ground your travel through personal resonance, a tether deep within memory, spanning time with love or fury as its anchor. But consequences were clear. The warnings filled entire pages. Dylan didn't care about the risks. He followed the instructions. Numbers danced as days blurred in his preparation. The bridge the notebook spoke of didn't look like anything physical. In fact, when he enacted the process by replaying his worst family memory, the night his father shattered a plate after Dylan cursed him to his face, it felt invisible. All Dylan witnessed was the room around him quivering before turning translucent. Then came the tether, an inexplicable sensation drawing his consciousness downward, backward, deep into the shock of time itself. And just like that, he was 15. His inhale caught sharply, painfully, as the realization dawned on him. He was back inside his childhood home, back on the night he'd issued the words that had echoed for years in his father's disappointment. He followed the instructions. Numbers danced as days blurred in his preparation. The bridge the notebook spoke of didn't look like anything physical. In fact, when he enacted the process by replaying his worst family memory, the night his father shattered a plate after Dylan cursed him to his face, it felt invisible. All Dylan witnessed was the room around him quivering before turning translucent. Then came the tether, an inexplicable sensation drawing his consciousness downward, backward, deep into the shock of time itself. And just like that, he was 15. His inhale caught sharply, painfully, as the realization dawned on him. He was back inside his childhood home, back on the night he'd issued the words that had echoed for years in his father's disappointment. He saw his father by the kitchen table, the plate still intact, his expression frustrated but not yet crushed. Dylan's older mind rolled back into his younger body, a dizzying sensation of feeling both naive and wise simultaneously. "Stop yourself. Speak differently." His hands trembled, every impulse telling him to gently steer himself off the course leading toward heartbreak. He opened his mouth and froze. How do you rewrite a moment so heavy with anger and misunderstanding? How do you undo words already forming like a landslide inside your chest? He stammered. A softer version of what he wanted to scream emerged. "Dad, I don't mean it like that. Can we maybe talk instead of yelling?" The entire moment shifted. Dylan saw his father's hand pause midair, far away from what would have been a shattered plate. The anger in his father's face softened, shock overtaking him instead, and then relief. His father said, "Okay," with hesitance, but Dylan could see the battle wasn't over. Dylan was shifting the edges of time, but he could feel time resisting with strange vibrations under his skin, the notebook's warning about consequences looming. For weeks, Dylan subtly attempted fixing, not creating masterpieces of dialogue, but carefully nudging moments away from old arguments, showing restraint where the teenage him was reckless. Slowly, bridges rebuilt between his father, mother, and sister, yet cracks appeared elsewhere. His sister seemed quieter now than he recalled. She smiled less. He followed her mysterious changes relentlessly, discovering she'd redirected her own anger inward instead of outward. Her vibrant passion for art dulled under the weight of the family energy shifting toward repair. Time didn't fix, time rewired. Late one visible moment backward, Dylan understood the notebook more than he wanted to. His actions repaired relationships only to mutate others. Universally, there were people now outside his family entirely, whose small interactions adjusted unpredictably around him like dominoes falling sideways through unseen ripples. Then Dylan knew the deepest truth hidden across chapters of instructions. You couldn't insert perfection. You inserted change, both gentle and disastrous. Returning forward, snapping back 26 years, is difficult. Memory fights how layered reform reacts, pushing its destruction scars onward. Dylan returns anyway, but consequences reappear visible. Time stretches only uncertain, halfway fate builds in loop ties. Rain outside? Unknown. Rain tells similar regrets, now spanning Dylan wider questions whether gratitude replaces mistake-clenched, similar loop-back, worth-paying, button-driven lifelines, repeating questions again. Was fixing worthwhile? Was fixing defining entirely worth price, or owning ahead instead owning better regress, simplest, safe courses? Rain echoes those doubts, trail forgiveness, tested ends, repeating Dylan too forgives quietly, soul murky, memory looped traces begin cycle humans forever equally, guessing those answers ripple signs. Choices returned.